Hey, it's the Fatboy Show on your number one station, RX Radio. How are you doing today on this beautiful day? It is the 21st of November, 2022. Oh my gosh, it's almost the end of the month. Can you believe it? And before long, we'll be ushering in the month of December, and I guess that's when the party shall begin. But why wait till the 1st of December? Why not start now? Give yourself an extra week of Christmas celebrations. I mean, why not? Don't you deserve it? You have toiled and sweated and worked hard throughout the year. And I think anyone will forgive you for wanting another day of festivities or another week of festivities. So go ahead and have at it, won't you? Well, speaking of festivities, weddings. People love weddings for the food and the drinks and the dancing and the music. Of course, what they don't take into account is what happens after, which is the marriage.
The marriage.
That's what sucks about weddings, is that there's a marriage. It's supposed to be all fun and games.
So you'd rather that there is a wedding and a wedding and a wedding. Like if one couple could have a wedding every other weekend,
yes,
it would be a celebration all through.
Haven't you seen that meme of a bride looking so gloomy standing next to her husband? And then I think the caption is like, when you were looking forward to your wedding, only to realize that now you have a husband. Because the best part of it is the festivities, is the dress, the gowns, the flower girls, the maids, and do you know what I mean?
You know what they say, if you're not careful, these men will marry you, and then before you know it, you have a husband, and then they will put their relatives into your stomach, and now you have kids to take care of.
So think twice before diving into it. Of course, now the discussion regarding marriage has turned into a debate over what constitutes a contribution to a marriage. Mm-hmm. Because there was last week there was a new development in the courts. A court of appeals, I think, ruled that it's not automatic that spouses shall part with 50-50.
Yes.
And that there'll be greater consideration placed on who has contributed more financially. It also claimed that it would take into account a woman's non-financial contributions, or whichever spouse's non-financial contributions, and that sparked off a debate with many feminists decrying it as unfair. I listened to a Twitter Spaces hosted by Rosebell Kagumira, a famous feminist, in which her and other lawyers, feminist lawyers, were crying. They were complaining, this is unfair to women. It is placing men at advantage because they are the ones who have the money. And I'm like, wait, but didn't you marry them because they had the money? It's like you're making it seem like it's by accident that they married more wealthy men than them.
No, actually, most people get married at a certain age when the men don't really have much money. If you look at most marriages and you ask these people, when did you get married? Save for a few people who get married when they're older or into their second marriages, men usually get married when they're broke. So they amass all this property.
They really?
Yes.
And the women accept to marry them when they are broke?
If you meet a 28-year-old man and he's getting married, how much does he have? He may have a good job, some good income that can take care of a family, but he's not rich.
No, but
now we divorce after 30 years
but
of marriage.
I mean, come on.
He got rich when he was my husband.
But I feel like most women prefer to marry men who are already established.
It depends on the age, like I said. If a 35-year-old woman is getting married, obviously, the kind of man she's getting married to has already established himself. Probably he's already rich. But if young people are getting married, maybe she's 25, he's 28 or 30, that guy is not rich. Where are you rich at 30?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
No.
So why
I'm
is
still not rich.
So maybe you're rich, considering the incomes of other people. But let's say right now you could have more money than the money you had when you were 30, right? And if you got married at 30, like you said, you had caught the marriage bag at 35.
Yes, I had.
So let's say you got married at 35, and at 45 or 55 or 65, that is like 30 years later, you're now a rich guy. And then, after 30 years of being with you, you want me to walk away with nothing. Make that make sense.
Well, how does it not make sense?
It doesn't make sense because we were together.
So?
I gave you peace. I gave you...
Did you?
Yes. I took care of you.
Did you?
Yes, I did.
Wow. So for example, I've had the same maid since 2004. So how many years is that? It's almost... it's like 18 years. So this maid of course not married, but in terms of providing me care, she has, and she has done so based on a negotiated rate, okay, for her services, right? of course, just domestic services. Now, it seems to me that for you to, as a spouse, to lay claim to some sort of financial compensation, essentially you are saying, I mean, it almost seems like you're equating yourself to a maid, which is something most women would argue fiercely against. So if you're offering a man all of the nurturing, why not just treat it as a gift?
No, I think men
Because should men also start billing? Should we now, every time we take you to dinner, should we now bill you?
No, here's the thing. When when men reduce the role of a wife to just what a maid does, what does a maid do? She mops the house, washes the utensils.
I understand,
and
but
in this age, we may even not have had a maid.
I understand,
Let's say
but
we had maybe
the question
a
I'm
washing
asking,
machine, a dishwasher, and maybe a woman that comes in once in a while to dust and clean.
yes.
Does the wife only provide that? That is the question I always ask you. Is that the only thing a woman provides in a home?
Can I ask you, but can't a husband argue similarly that even his role in the marriage isn't to just pay bills? He also lends support, emotional support, mental support, psychological support, to spiritual support to his wife, offers her guidance, offers her comfort. What about all of the treats, gifts, holidays? Hang on, like how in companies, so like if you're like what managers and executives do in companies is that every time you need to wine and dine a client, you bring back the receipts to the office, and then you're compensated, like you're refunded because it's treated as a business expense. So should men also start collecting receipts for all the things they have bought for the wives, so that in the event of a divorce, he can present them as evidence and say, okay, please, I deserve to be compensated for all this money I spent on you, in the same way that you are demanding for compensation for your domestic duties.
By the way, when we say compensation for domestic duties, we don't even mean ironing your shirts. We mean things like taking care of your children, raising a family.
Are they they are our children.
But when they die, where do they bury them? Which family comes to claim them?
Okay, so you mean as the father, I played no role in the child's life?
Here is the thing. These are my children too, right?
Thank you.
But when you are dead, your family can even take them away from me, telling
they
me
can't.
that they
Legally.
will. No. Legally, you will have to first tussle it out in court. Families have taken kids away from women, taken everything the man left for her, because they are saying these are our children.
Women are funny.
And
I looked after your kids.
They're
your kids
too. They are my kids too, but you guys are always telling us
you have to be paid to look after
your
own kids.
You're always telling us if you're leaving, you're not taking my children. And when a woman is taking care of the kids, okay, now let me say our children. When a woman is taking care of both of your children, you're out there. You do not have to be concerned about what is happening at home. You do not have to be concerned about a child that has gotten sick. Picture this. Two people are working, a husband and a wife, right? When a child gets sick, who do they call at school?
I don't know. Who do they call?
They call the mother.
Do they?
When a child is sick, who takes a
Is that a rule?
Yeah, it's how it works in most families. When a child is sick, who takes the day off from work? It's the mother, even if both of you have jobs. It is rare for a man to take a day off from work because a child is sick. And these are the things we tell you that we need to be compensated for.
No, but
these
the thing
are
is,
our contributions in a marriage.
I refuse that, because I think that a man's contributions are, you see, I don't think it's a zero-sum game. I feel like there are levels to this. So there are areas in which a wife's contribution might be more than the husband's, and then there are other areas where the husband's contribution is more than the wife's. So let's say they've taken on a mortgage to construct a house or to build a house. The responsibility of shouldering the mortgage, meeting the expense, the stress of finding the money to pay the mortgage or the loan, to construct the house, to pay the school fees. It's not just pulling money out of your pocket. It's the mental anguish of having to look for that money and the responsibility that comes with it. And I don't think that in saying or in claiming that, because when the kid gets sick, you're the one that gets called, that automatically makes you superior in your contributions. And I feel like a man's contributions are, they may be less in that specific area, but they are higher in another area. Do you understand?
I was answering a question where you said, why do women feel like they need to be compensated for domestic work?
Because similarly, we can demand compensation for executive work. In fact, that's the best way to put it. Hang on, is the man the leader of the house, the head of the house?
So?
Okay. So, in any business you go to, why do you think the CEO or the managing director gets paid more? He is being paid more because he performs two functions. He brings leadership or she brings leadership, and he or she has responsibility. So the weight of the burden of carrying the family rests on the man's shoulders. And if we want to be compensated for services rendered, how about that? Compensate me for that.
And this is the other thing that I normally look at, Fatboy, because we've had this conversation so many times. And this is the other thing. How many families are being looked after by one income? Because if I'm working and you're working, if we are both gainfully employed, if we are getting a mortgage as a family, we are both going to pay for it. No. Put it out there. Ask people that are married. Ask them about this. Fatboy, you seem to view marriage in small lenses. You think that the world is picture perfect out there. People are financially struggling, and it takes two incomes to run a family today.
The story you're telling doesn't comport with reality.
Go out. Actually, it is you that is not rooted in reality. You don't know what is happening on the ground. You don't know how many families cannot survive because the guy is indebted, and it is her money that is actually taking care of the home.
Excuse me. What, you think we've not dated women who have money? We're still the ones paying for everything.
You have dated them,
yes.
You've not married them.
You know? I mean, she makes good money, but still, when you go out, you're the one paying for everything.
You cannot compare dating to marriage. Marriage has a totally different set of rules.
Really?
Marriage does not work like dating. That's why some people can date for 10 years, get married for 2, and separate because they can't handle.
I think I should bring some of my married friends and
Please
they set the record straight.
I will bring mine too. Bring a guy because you speak for guys, and I will bring a guy too.
Do you have any married friends?
Yes.
Or aren't they all divorced?
No. Why would you even say that?
Yeah, because birds of a feather, that kind of attitude. You're so stubborn.
No, I'm not stubborn.
Yeah?
I'm realistic because
Wow.
I know what goes down there.
All right, but let's keep the debate going. Go to our Twitter or Facebook and let us know what you think about marriage and what is the main priority of marriage. Is it about love? Is it about property? You know, the Archbishop of Kampala has come out and said that people are more likely to enter into marriage for wealth rather than its core values such as love, happiness, and trust. He said this. He said, quote, "Godly marriage is not about sharing property. God created marriage as a lifetime bond between a man and a woman. The discussions about sharing of matrimonial property is a sign of greed." Olive, have you heard? Greed. And depreciation of love amongst the people.
And I will throw it back to you. Who is being greedy here? Who is celebrating this landmark
I'm going to
ruling?
disagree with the Archbishop.
It is the men that are celebrating that women are not going to be driving them, out of their property, that are not taking them to the cleaners. It is you guys that are greedy. And by the way, Fatboy, let me tell you something. When you find two women, let's say a CEO, and she has these other friends, they're like, "Oh, by the way, Olive, what have you been doing?" Let's say I'm the CEO. "Oh, I'm like, I have been working hard. I got promoted. I'm now the CEO." And then they'll be like, "Oh, by the way, are you married now?"
Uh-huh.
And then when you find a guy and you ask him, "Fatboy, what's up? What are you up to now?" You're like, "Oh, I started a radio station. We are doing so." They're like, "Oh, my guy. No one is going to ask you if you are married." So men keep saying that.
No, but it's true. Is that no, and I don't know why women don't appreciate this, but neither do society nor men care about a woman's actual accomplishments. I mean, it's all well and good if she accomplishes things, but society isn't waiting to judge her based on that. And Andrew Tate, who is hated by many women, gave this very good example. He said he one time was at a family gathering. I think it was their grandmother's birthday, who is turning 90 years old. And so for her, she had I think 6 or 7 kids. And then her 6 or 7 kids also had some kids. And he said within that room, there were about 40 people. And all of them came out of this one woman. Do you think at age 90, anyone is looking at her and saying, "Oh my gosh, wow, that was a fantastic career you had"? No. Everyone is revering her and worshiping her because of the great contribution she made in creating all of this life. And so that is how she is being valued. And at the end of the day, ladies, no one's going to care about your career but yourself. But besides you, no one cares.
But this is where I was going with this. So men keep saying that we want to take them to the cleaners to take their money to be wealthy. But women, we don't want to be alone. We would like to stay married because, like you said, society reveres us by the men we married, the family we brought up, the children we had. So most times when we are getting a divorce, it is not necessarily because we want you to be broke. It is because we put in so much and we thought this would last. But because you played us, now we don't care.
You put in so much what?
We put in the energy, time, and effort.